Hello and welcome to another episode of the Same Old Arsenal. We are doing another Pots preview today. I have some Arsenal guests on with me and I have a Manchester City fan also. We are doing another Pots preview for the Arsenal-Man City game, which is tomorrow. We're not going to talk about previous games. It has been a little bit depressing, but we're going to look forward and try and stay as positive as we can. If you do fancy a bet at the weekend, then please go on to FansBet. All the money you put on, we are linking to Great Ormond Street Hospital. To be fair, I reckon it's probably going to be a pretty depressing day for us, and I've predicted a loss, but we'll go into that more in a few minutes. Joining me today is my brother-in-law, believe it or not. He's come on, he's a massive gooner. Mark, how are you, mate? You good, buddy?
Superb. Thanks for having me.
Mate, thanks for joining us. And happy birthday to, back by popular demand, Mr. Scunny Mike. Mike, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much, and thanks for having me again.
Mate, I do love the bruised banana in the background shirt, I must admit.
Mate, it went on sale the other day, and I thought, I've got to have it.
Absolutely. Mate, great to have you back with us, Scunny. Always a pleasure, mate. And joining us, the Mr. Robbie Lyle of Manchester City is Ray.
I'm as bald as Robbie, but I've got bigger ears. So they tell me.
Ray, thanks so much for coming on, man. How are you?
Pleasure. I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm in the big smoke London town, ready for the game tomorrow. All excited.
Great stuff. Let's bring you all in. Let's bring you all back in. It's great to have you on, boys. Ray, we may as well start with you because we always start with Arsenal. We're going to start with Man City, mate. What's the score over in your place at the moment with your club? Because a lot of the fans I speak to are kind of some conceding the league already. What's the score at the moment with you boys over there?
Well, I think we've got no choice about conceding the league. Liverpool 14 points ahead, already winning against Watford. We are miles behind, and there's no way we're winning it. The only chance of us retaining our title is if Liverpool lose it. They're going to have, a massive bottle job to lose it from here. Not even Leicester are really close. 8 points. It's a huge, huge task. I mean, we did, was it 9 points last season, but we were still playing well. We're not playing good enough at the moment. It's up and down. And whenever we win and it looks good, that's just papering over the cracks. So it's Liverpool's title to lose. We just got to accept it. Just be objective and honest about it.
It's happened before.
Oh, it's happened before, but
yeah, it's happened before to Liverpool.
But
you can't say it this year. I get you.
The difference is now they played about 55 games and lost 1 in the league. So that was to us. Can you really see 3 or 4 teams beating them this season in the rest of the season? Maybe they'll lose to us. Maybe they'll lose to Leicester. But who else has got a chance?
They're winning games they don't deserve to win. That's what champions do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I do have to agree with that, Mark. I think as well, Ray, what's all this about Pep Guardiola then? What have you heard about this contract clause? Is it true? Is this nothing? Is this rumours?
It depends who you talk to. I mean, Pep's again come out and said there's no clause, there's no break clause in my contract at the end of the season. He said, I'm going to honour my contract, which finishes in 2021. He's even said, I might stay longer. I don't easily believe all that. You've had Guillaume Balaguer come out and say he's got a break clause. You've had, was it Matt Law for the Telegraph? He's come out and said he's got a break clause. Someone's got to be wrong, surely. And I'd like whoever's right to come that they're right, and they're the ones telling porkies. So it's difficult. He's had an issue with his family. That's what really worried me. The fact that his wife and his youngest daughter were pretty bored in Manchester. It's not London. Let's be honest, there's less to do in Manchester than London. The weather's not always great. Seldom is. And so what they've done, his other kids...
Johnny can tell you that.
His other kids, they're studying. I think they're studying in Manchester, so they're a bit older. They can come and go, and they have their own lives. But I don't know how old his youngest daughter is, but I'm assuming she's a teenager. They've got less to do. So what they're doing now, I think they're splitting their time between Barcelona and Manchester. So I think it's like 4 days in one place, 3 in the other, which probably works better for Pep. you probably feel less guilty that you're neglecting your family. That was my biggest worry, that there could be a breakdown in his family. That actually might work in his favour, and he throws himself even more into the football. But I think they've got a better family setup now, and a better balance between his work and his family. And at least, as I think as Guillaume Balaguer said, he's looking forward to his family coming back to Manchester rather than throwing himself more into the football. So I think it'll work better for him, and fingers crossed it'll start to work better for us as well.
I mean, the fans must want him to stay, mustn't they? Surely, because he's been brilliant for you, hasn't he?
Oh yeah. I memean, look, even though we had a poll recently, I was doing the best City 11 from the last decade, and went through all the players, and we had polls and everything, and we did one for the manager, and Pep won it, but it wasn't so easy because a lot of the fans still like Roberto Mancini because he was the first manager after so long that allowed us to believe. He made us compete, and he took us to the first title in since '68. So a lot of fans still like Bobby for that, and in the poll, I think Bobby did quite well. I think he got maybe 30-odd%. But Pep won it, and you can't argue with it. What he's achieved in the last 3 seasons, two league titles and Carabao Cup a couple of times, the FA Cup. He's won so much for us. So and the football we've been playing is wonderful. You've never seen anything like it before. I don't think in the Premier League, even the great Arsenal teams, Chelsea teams, Liverpool teams. I don't think there've been anything like this. As some of the records have proved. So us City fans, we want him to stay for 10 years, 15 years, as long as he wants. And I think the owners do as well, and the board, they want him to stay as long as they can persuade him to stay.
Man, absolutely. I'd be exactly the same. I'd love a manager like Pep Guardiola. Mark, we'll come to you, mate. Coming in onto us tomorrow, mate. Listen, I'm not very positive at the moment being an Arsenal fan. It is very, very hard for us to watch at the moment. But Manchester City are leaking some goals. Is this probably the best chance we've got of sneaking a victory, do you think, mate, in recent years?
Yeah, definitely in recent years. Although having said that, like I said before, when we come on, off the back of a defeat against their arch rivals across the city, they're going to be a hell of a wounded animal tomorrow afternoon, and they're not going to want to lose 2 back-to-back to supposedly the Big Six. I don't know if we're in there anymore, but if they don't get 3 points tomorrow at City, it's done, and they know that. So they've got a huge game on their hands, and like they have, they've got FA Cup finals every league game for the rest of the season now to try and keep pace. They won't. They know they won't, because Liverpool are getting VAR luck, every other luck you can get, which is what happens in football. To win the league, you have to have all of that, and they certainly have got it at the minute. Injury luck, blah blah blah. So City will come down, give a good account, but yes, at the back line, losing confidence. As I said before, you can't take a Rolls Royce out of the back line. Best captain they've ever had. You're not going to replace him like this. So go at him. Be positive. We've got nothing to lose. Just go at him. We're at home.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. You say just go at them. I think it's the only thing that we're capable of doing. Scunny, what do you think? What do you think of us going forward, Scunny? We all know we'll go into our defence in a bit. I don't want to, but we're going to have to. What do we think about us going forward?
Well, I think we were just saying a bit earlier before we started the podcast about defensive frailties and everything. And when you say when Mark said about replacing Vincent Kompany, I thought City did actually replace him really well in Laporte. It's just unfortunate with his, with that big injury that he's had, and I think that was a huge miss. It's a huge loss for City in someone like that, because I think he's playing brilliantly. I think last season he started, didn't he? And he was playing really well. It is a huge loss for them. But for us going forward, we're doing really well going forward. I think the problem that we're having is we're not really hitting the target as often as what we would like. Whereas if you look on the opposite end of City, which if you look at City, for instance, they're hitting the target. So it's going to be an interesting one, I admit, and I too, like yourself, Dan, have predicted a loss because I just think with the City forward line against our back line, I just think it's going to be too much.
Mm. Right, I've got to ask you about this because we get depressed talking about it. What you must fancy your chances against our defence. It doesn't matter who we play at the moment. You must fancy your chances with your strikers and our horrendous defending at times.
I won't argue with you defending. I mean, people like, was it David Luiz, Socrates, and the others, Mustafi. I love Mustafi.
Don't mention their name.
You can have him if you want.
But
well, I'll drive into Manchester for you if you want.
no thanks. Things aren't that bad. But the thing is, I mean, I assume most people watch City on the highlights. They watch them on Match of the Day or whatever, and you don't see the number of chances we actually do create. We are still creating, I think, the most chances of anybody by probably a fair way, but we're not that ruthless, and that's what's been costing us against your North London rivals, Spurs. I think we had 29 shots on goal.
Wow.
They had 2 on target. We should have battered them properly. It should have been a rugby score. We were miles better than them, and they come out with a 2-2 draw. So we're having a lot of chances, but we're not taking them. And I think that's a big problem for City. Whereas the teams against us aren't having that many chances. I think we've conceded the fewest. It doesn't look like it, but apparently we've conceded the fewest chances in the league. But teams are having a chance and they're taking it because our chances are huge, gilt-edged chances that we're conceding. And as I said, our strikers, Gabby Jesus, he hasn't convinced me. He's had a couple of good games against Burnley, played well. He scored a hat-trick against Dinamo Zagreb. But in between that, poor game against United, missed an open goal with a header about 6 yards out, probably hit his shoulder. It was really, really bad. No one anywhere near him, just to keep it to beat. So he has these ups and downs. And my worry is he's, in a big game, and this is still a big game, he's gonna bottle it again. He's not got the confidence. You can see in some of the interviews he's done. Last season he had problems as well with confidence. He had to have his mum over and his mates to G him up a bit and give him some confidence back. And I think that's Pep commented on that a couple of weeks ago. He's basically saying you shouldn't need your family and your mates to be motivated and G'd up. So that's my concern, that we'll create. I have no doubt we'll create at least half a dozen good chances against you guys tomorrow. It's putting them away.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, I mean, we've seen City get beat. They've lost to Wolves. They've lost to Norwich. Teams that really on paper we should be better than. How do we get, past this Man City side for you? Like, is it all about forget everything at the back and let's just go for it, or what would you like to see from Arsenal?
Wolves, they don't forget everything at the back. In fact, they build from the back. So, they keep all of their basis on keeping a clean sheet. They work as a unit. Norwich City got no stars. Well, you could say Pookie is their star, but really it's a team thing. So the only way you're going to beat Manchester City is if 11 lads turn up, work their socks off for the club, work their socks off for their wages, and do their job man to man, win their individual battles. Like Martin Keown was saying the other day that the great defences of old used to have a competition across the back four where they would say, you've given away that chance, Lee, because you've let that man get past you. It wasn't us, it was you. So they would put the emphasis on that individual and say, he's your man, get hold of him, not just for now, for 95 minutes. So if we're going to compete with this side, which is a big ask because we're in disarray, everybody's going to have to turn up, put a shift in, run their selves into the ground, and if they have to come off after 70 minutes because they're exhausted, that's how it should be.
I think it's a great point. And Scunny, one player that works his socks off for us every game is on £350,000 a week in Mesut Ozil. I'm obviously joking, mate. What's going on with Mesut Ozil then, Scunny? Did you believe that he deserved the praise he got on Monday night?
No, not at all. Not at all. How can you give praise to someone who is basically doing sod all most of the game and then gets a pre-assist? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, you can't. That doesn't even count. There's no record of anyone having the largest pre-assists. There's no records of it. So how can you make a
It
record?
will be soon. It will be soon. There was no records of net spend until a few years ago when Liverpool weren't winning anything, and suddenly the net spend.
Yeah, there is that as well. Yeah, you got me on that.
Arguing with Liverpool fans who won the Champions League, they're going to win the league more than likely this season, and they still want to throw net spend at us. I've always said net spend is just an argument put out there by owners. They've spread this net spend for not investing in the club and not investing in players.
That's what I was going to say, by the way. You shouldn't be having a go at clubs spending money. At the end of the day, the Barclays or the Premier League is chucking money into these football clubs. They spend it how they want, by the way. So if they choose to invest it in their club rather than lining their own pockets, then I think those fans should be very fortunate that they've got a chairman to do that, because we certainly haven't. And there's plenty of football clubs up and down this country that would absolutely love to have Man City's owners or Liverpool's owners or Man United's owners.
Well, you got to look at. Yeah, I'm going to say you can't just blame City for spending all this money and everything else. Look at the other. Look at. There's so many other teams out there that are willing to dash. Spend the cash everywhere.
Well, you guys
Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United have spent millions. And
what you've got to do if you want to be successful in this league, you have to invest in the team, in the infrastructure of the club. You have to invest in any business. If you don't market your business, it won't succeed in any line of business.
Yeah, Liverpool weren't winning the title until in about 2.5 years they spent over 400 million quid.
Exactly,
and they got the right investment. They didn't buy any more Andy Carrolls. They bought people who were young. Some of them had experience. I've noticed that in the Premier League, like Robertson, like Sadio Mane, Lallana, and Salah.
Wijnaldum was a good one.
Exactly. Yeah. So all these, Liverpool invested very, very well, but it still cost them over 400 million pounds in 2.5 years. So, if they spent 50 or 100 million in those 2.5 years, they wouldn't have won the league. They'd still be looking for top four. So, which is what I'm hoping for City this season. So, I'm putting it out there. Putting it out there.
I was going to say off the back of what Mark said about if you're going to have any chance of beating City, you've got to. The only way you beat City, you can't beat them by passing. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to close these guys down, and you're going to have to make it tough for him. You're going to have to, like Mark said, you're going to have to fight for that ball. Make it so it's a rough match. Yeah. That's the only way you're going to have to do it. But the Arsenal players, I'm sorry, but we're not that type of team.
I think that's the problem. The teams that have tended to beat us have worked really hard. They've worked harder than us. I was at Norwich when Norwich beat us. We had the chances. We didn't score enough, but Norwich worked damn hard to beat us. As Mark said, as a team, same as Wolves, same as United last week. They worked harder than us. You could see it. They wanted it more. They worked harder and they worked as a team. And that's I think that's the way. And when Liverpool beat us, everybody's beating us by working hard and working as a team. And I don't think
it's closing your players down.
Yeah, I don't think you got that in you to work as a team and to work harder than the opposition.
Got no captain. You need a lead. You need some leaders to show the way.
Absolutely. We've got a question coming in. Scunny, I'm going to put this to you because we've just been talking about Mesut Ozil. Lee Farrell. Hello, Lee. Thanks for watching, mate. Good pal of mine. Question for the panel. Could Lacazette work in the number 10 role on Sunday and drop Mesut Ozil? We've also got one from my mum. Look, I could play in that position and drop Mesut Ozil. What do you think, Scunny? Can Lacazette play in that number 10, do you think?
I can't see why not. What difference is he going to make compared to Ozil? There's nothing. He can only play better than him. He can't play much worse, can he? Anyone can pass the ball. I've said it before. Guendouzi passes the ball. Xhaka passes the ball. So it's not as if he's the only person in the whole entire squad that can make a pass.
I mean, for me, I've always asked that question about Lacazette being dropped in behind Aubameyang in that number 10. Could he do it? He does hold the ball up well. He does link up play. I think I'd like to see it personally. I'm not a lover of Mesut Ozil. I don't hate him quite as much as you, Scunny, but I do not see that would be a bad thing to work to try, at least, because Ceballos is still out. Ozil's not really cutting the mustard at the moment, so a way to get maybe Lacazette and Aubameyang working together would be to play one behind him, and I prefer Aubameyang through the middle, to be honest with you. Mark, what's the team going to be tomorrow, mate? what do you think's going to happen? Because you've got injury problems. Pepe is available apparently. Pepe is now available. Bellerin, Tierney, Holding, Ceballos, all out. Tierney out for 3 months. Oh God, embarrassing again. What do you think the team selection is going to be, mate?
Well, it was difficult because I contemplated with like going with 3 at the back and playing on the counter attack. But
no, please no.
Exactly. So in the end, I just thought, you know what? As I said in the beginning, let's be positive. Can't get any worse. We're at home. We should be taking the game to these. Anybody who comes to the Emirates, we should be going at them. So I said, Leno, obviously, is arguably should be our captain. Ashley Maitland-Niles, Chambers, and then you could just throw it up in the air to see who plays next to him. But I really landed with Louise this time. I nearly threw it again, but where would it land? Who cares? Kolasinac, and then purely by default, and then Torreira, Guendouzi. And then we've got a problem, haven't we? Do we go Xhaka? No. So I went with Ozil. Sorry, Scunny. And then I actually went with Laka because I thought he would be up top as an outlet to hold the ball up with Uber and Martinelli. How can you drop him? Playing off of him. So let's just go for it.
I think that's a good lineup, to be fair. Scunny, any changes you'd make there, mate?
Ozil.
That was a silly question. Really.
No. Well, with our back four, it's always going to be difficult to see who's going to be in there because it doesn't matter who we play. It just doesn't matter, does it? Who we play in the back four. So, with the injuries that we've got, it's obviously going to be Maitland-Niles. I reckon it's going to be Chambers and Socrates, and possibly, obviously, in Kolasinac, like Mark said, through default. It depends what we play afterwards. If we're going to go for a 4-3-3, if we do have that 4-3-3, we should be playing Torreira, Guendouzi, and Xhaka. And the only reason why I'm saying Xhaka, because I really don't want to say him either, is because I just don't want to see Ozil on that pitch.
I think Xhaka's not available, is he? Xhaka's got concussions, so he's not available. So, we're really struggling.
Stick a couple of kids out, see what they've got. See what they can do. They've got better legs than bloody Ozil, haven't they? So they could probably close these players down a bit better.
Yeah,
it really depends. Team tomorrow is that we that centre half pairing haven't got to mark one of the best strikers the Premier League has ever seen in Sergio Aguero. So, and he loves to score against us. So that is the only saving grace for this centre half pairing, that they won't have to deal with him. Fingers crossed.
Right.
It's a saving grace for any team that's coming up against him, isn't it? Now having Aguero in there.
Well, that brings me on to the team news for you guys. What we hear that Aguero and David Silva might not be available. Is that right?
Yeah. Aguero's. I don't think he's back in training yet, and more than likely Silva. I think he's still got this problem with his leg. Apparently, he was kicked in an important place, as Pep says. Just before I answer that, I'll just say about you guys. For me, if you play 3 up front, if you play the 3 guys with pace, you're going to cause us trouble. Angelino, if he plays left back, he's not left back and he's got no pace. And if you have someone like Nicola Pepe against him, I mean, Pepe could walk faster than Angelino can run. Zinchenko's been out for about 5 or 6 weeks. You got Mendy, who couldn't really defend. He seems to have lost a bit of pace, and I think that's where you can really hurt us by sticking someone up on each wing and someone through the middle. It's take a risk. And maybe you play with 2 defensive midfielders or 1 and 2 creative players. So either 4-1-2-3 or 4-2-1-3. And put the pressure on our defense going up. We're going to have less of the ball. And we've seen that each of the last 3 seasons that we're having less of the ball. Teams are having passing the ball more. Chelsea at City had more than 50% of the possession. So for me, that's what I think you've got to do. Yes, we've got going back to City. David Silva not playing might be a blessing in disguise, because we can see last season he was running around like crazy. He was running around like a little kid. But this season, off the ball, he's doing less and less. And we don't have the energy and the legs in midfield when we've got someone like Rodri, KDB, and David Silva. If we've got those three as our midfield, for me, that's very weak going back, chasing back. Rodri doesn't chase. Rodri, he doesn't understand what you need to do in the Premier League to endear yourself to fans. So if there's a shot coming at your face, you put your face in front of the ball. He's done it a couple of times now where he's turned sideways and the ball's gone in. So that's where I think you can get us. But if Silva's not fit, we might end up playing with Gundogan, and he's got no legs either. So I think the game's going to be won probably in the midfield. If we can't hold you guys back when you break, and you can get at our defence. Aubameyang scares me. He's got pace. He knows where the goal is. He's scored a lot of goals this season. He's in form. Pepe's just started to score goals, and Lacazette, I think, is a very good player as well. So our injuries now, it's getting better, but we could do with Laporte being back. I think that would change us as a team. That would change us overnight. That'd give confidence, and us having to play every game with Fernandinho in defence, even though he's probably our best centre back at the moment. Fernandinho, he's that good a player, but he's still also our best defensive midfielder. Where we're not using him there, and a lot of us fans would like him to play there. So we are a bit of a mess at the moment. And
so, what's the team likely to be tomorrow then, Ray? What are we going to be going for?
Well, we're going to go with Edison. That's not going to change. We'll go with Walker at right back. Centre backs will be Otamendi and Fernandinho, simply because we haven't got any other first team centre backs available, and he's not going to play Garcia, the kid, even though I think he's better than Otamendi. And then left back, it's a toss up between. I think Mendy's not supposed to be able to play 2 games back to back in a short space of time. But this is 5 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days, 4 or 5 days. I don't know who's going to play left back. But quite honest, I have no idea whether it's Zinchenko because he's back from injury. I'd give it to Zinchenko. He played a few minutes in midfield the other week. So Rodri will play defensive midfielder. In front of him, I'd expect it to be KDB and Gundogan. And up front, Bernardo Silva, Gabby Jesus and Raheem Sterling.
Mark, out of those players, that's quite scary, really, isn't it? Who do you think's going to cause us the most?
He says that, and he's so worried about that team, and I'm just thinking, Christ, there's goals all over the place.
I've seen it this season. Gundogan and KDB and Rodri don't fill me with a lot of hope going back. Going forwards, we're still great, but going back,
goals.
I think the thing with KDB is, when he gets it, if he's on form that one day that he is on form, he changes everything. Yeah. So
I love him, quickly. Mate. I love him. I think he's unbelievable. Yeah, such a good player.
And even on a bad day, he can still change things. He's just one of them. But if he's on form that night,
I don't think he's been brilliant consistently all throughout games, but he's got a wand of a right foot, and he's been creating goals, creating a lot of assists this season by a few moments of magic during games. But I don't think he's at the level that we would have hoped he is. And, look, he missed a lot last season. So fingers crossed he'll pick up as the season goes along. And by February, once our injuries started coming back, injured players come back and the Champions League starts again, we'll be a much better team.
Yeah.
Mark, this is
Sterling as well. That's another one for our defence.
Someone
just mentioned it there
for them. Yeah. What do we think of that, then, Scunny? You agree?
Well, this is the problem that we've got, and I think this is the problem for both teams. You see, and like he was just saying about Man City, if we've got a bit of pace, we can outpace their defenders. And I think that's exactly the same problem that we're going to have with ours. You see, Socrates, Chambers, Maitland-Niles isn't too bad. And Kolasinac just runs, like say, we call him the tank because he just puts his head down and just goes for it. Doesn't know where he's running to, but he just goes for it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And, so with Sterling and Jesus, sorry, mate.
Get hold of Sterling. Sorry, Scummy. Wan-Bissaka, his performance against Sterling last weekend was superb. And so hopefully you would hope that one of the defensive coaches, so-called coaches, Mertesacker, Bold, played in those positions, would have pulled Maitland-Niles to one side this week and said, have you seen what Wan-Bissaka done to Sterling last weekend? And maybe shown him a video or two, because that's the job. So, and that, that's what Ashley Maitland-Niles has got to try and do. Now, whether he can, I doubt it, but he's got to try.
The problem with that, Mark, is that Maitland-Niles has already said he doesn't want to play in defence. It's not his role. Wan-Bissaka, that's his role. He is a right back. And that's the difference between them both. And, so
when you get paid to do a job, you just get your head down and do it for the team, don't you? So we're not asking him to do it forever. We're asking him to do it for a period of time until the right backs come back. So, and he's a good lad. You see that against West Ham. I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch when he came on. He's a good lad. He does seem to have Arsenal through the course. I think he'll do a job. Big arse to Raheem Sterling, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had to ask me what Man City player would I want now in the Arsenal side, I would go for Fernandinho, just for the pure fact that we need something to anchor our midfield. Scunny, who would you go with if I said you could have any Man City player? Who would you go with?
De Bruyne, 100%. I know he's off the mark. Like we were just saying a minute ago, he's off the mark at the minute. But he gets a few of them games where he's on the mark. He's unplayable.
Mark.
Well, I said when you asked me this earlier, I said Aguero without even letting you finish the conversation. But I'm talking about obviously the Aguero of 10 years ago. If we can have him for 10 years, that would be great. But because he's up there with Henry and Shearer and all the greats, Rooney of the Premier League. So for me, it would have been Aguero. But now, I like Sterling. I do like Sterling. He's dangerous, isn't he? And but I have to agree with Dan that going forward and scoring goals is not our issue, is it?
No.
It's the back. So any of them.
Any of them, yeah, absolutely. Right, same question to you. If you could pick any Arsenal player, there's not probably many you want, to be honest. But if you did have to pick one, who would you go with?
He's going to say Ozil. You watch.
It's got to be David Luiz. I mean, there's no one else. No one else. We're going to have a joker in the pack.
Not Mustafi.
No. Honestly, I'd take Aubameyang. I think I like Nicolas Pepe. I think once he's got his confidence up, I think he'll be a cracking player. He's got a lot of tricks, a lot of pace. But Aubameyang, he knows where the goal is. He's got a bit. I think by the sounds of it, he's got a bit of an attitude problem. But he knows where the goal is. He might not track back that much, but if he's banging in 20, 25 goals a season for you, then I think that's good enough. I'm not worried about a striker tracking back, and if Pep got hold of him, he'd have to. So, but he's almost seems to be scoring a goal a game at the moment, and probably in our team he might even outscore Aguero. So Aubameyang head and shoulders above everybody else for me.
Fair one. Listen, I'm going to go around and ask for a prediction from you all in a minute, but Jake's got a question for you, Ray. A question from Man City Live. Do you think the league is over yet? A Liverpool fan asking. You've kind of half mentioned at the start with, but I'm not sure if Jake was with us. But what do you say about
that? I was going to do it. I was going to start gesticulating, but I thought this is a clean show. So Liverpool fans, I've had a lot of them over the last few weeks. Look, honestly, I've said it. I said it from 8 games in that Liverpool were like a machine. They're 24 points. I think they were already 6 or 8 points ahead of us. I said I can't see anybody beating them. The only way they could lose is by beating themselves, and I don't think that's going to happen. They've done best part of 55 games, only lost 1 in the league, and that was to us. And that was only just last season. I honestly think they could do something amazing this season. I think they can go invincible, possibly.
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
I'm saying it, man. I think they can go. They can go invincible. They could even. I think they'll break the 100-point barrier as well. I think they're on for that quite comfortably at the moment. They could win a few. They could. They could do better than if they have a clean sweep. But I think the league's over. It's up to them to lose it, and they don't look like they're going to lose it for whatever reason. They're playing really well. They haven't had many injuries. They've had a bit of luck. VAR generally has been on their side. But I'm not going I'm not going to look at VAR. I'm not going to look at the cheating, diving swines of Salah and Mane and the others. I'm not going to look at the luck they've had and use that to detract from the fact that they're churning out results, they're putting in performances, they're working really hard. You can't do 55 games or whatever it is.
Well, they've just done 2-0. They've just beaten Watford 2-0. It's full time. So, yeah, it's not looking good for anybody but Liverpool. To be fair,
because, I mean, I saw some of that game, and Watford missed a whole host of chances.
Agreed.
And Liverpool, the looks with them as well. So, besides playing like a machine, there needs to be some dope testing, I think, going on. They don't have any injuries. They're getting all this luck.
Well, what about this coming in from Pete? Look, it says, do you think Liverpool, if Virgil van Dijk gets injured, that could be the one for me, because I think he holds them together, doesn't he? So, but we'll see.
The thing is, they started rotating recently. So they left out Salah and Firmino against Everton and battered them 5-2. Then they left Mane out for one game. They still won that. So I think they've got enough backup, enough squad depth. And people said they didn't buy anybody this summer, but they forget that people like the Ox was coming back from injury. He's like having a new player. Lallana was injured as well, and I think there's somebody else. So they like getting 2 or 3 new players who know the club already because they're already there. I said.
Anyway, that's enough for talking about the Scousers. I can't talk about them much longer than that. Ray, prediction tomorrow, mate. What do you reckon?
Tell you what, guys. I'm going to go for 2-2.
Wow.
2-2.
Okay.
You're just being kind, Ray.
All season I've been going for, and I always go for City wins, whoever we play. And
you should do.
I've got it wrong half a dozen times, so I'm going to go for 2-2.
Okay, Scunny.
When we played 4 teams like Spurs and Newcastle, it's been 2-2. So for you guys, you're at the level of Spurs and Newcastle, so I'll say 2-2 as well.
I'll take that.
Scunny.
I was going to say 3-1, but I've changed it now. I'm going to say 3-2 loss.
A 3-2 loss. Okay.
Yeah.
And Mark, finally.
Yeah, I still don't. I don't know.
Come on, back your club, Mark. Back your club.
Yeah, no. Well, if I was to back the club, I would say 2-0.
There you go.
I'm gonna go for a 3.
The first one is really important. If we can keep a clean sheet until half time, then we will be deploying a game plan, won't we? But if City score within the first 15 minutes,
it could be horrendous.
Up anything, couldn't it?
Someone who is optimistic is Craig from Southern Arsenal, who thinks that it's going to be 3-1 Arsenal. I would love that, Craig. I really would. I'm going to disagree and go for a 3-1 loss. I just don't think it's going to be a very nice day at the office for us. I think that they've got too much going forward, whether it's Mahrez, Sterling, Bernardo Silva, Jesus, De Bruyne. I just think there's too much there to scare our defence. And I don't think, if you've got players like Pukki and Campbell who can score against us and players like Ogbonna, then it ain't going to be too hard for those players I've just mentioned to get goals against us, is it? Mark, I did have a question for you, mate, from Craig, which I hope you'll understand because I don't. Just quickly, what's all that about there? A question from Mark: does he still know what's happened to Kes the Kestrel?
Can I remember? We'd have to ask. Did he flew away? Didn't he? Did he fly away?
Listen up.
Is he talking about the one-off Bo Selector, or is he talking about the book?
I really don't. We'll have to ask him.
He knows. I can't read. He knows. He read the book. I was copying him.
Just lastly, before we wrap this up, I've got to ask you the manager situation. We spoke to Ray a bit about Pep Guardiola's situation. I would love to have a manager like that with a style and with an understanding of where he wants to take these players. Mark, what do we think is going to happen? Are we going to see Freddie in for a while? Are we going to see a new manager? What would you like to see happen?
I think we're going to go with Freddie, aren't we? We're going to bide our time. we're going to sit on the fence and sound out a few boards until they come across somebody who fits in with their plan, Raul and Edu's plan, whatever that may be. We're unsure at the minute, aren't we? But the Ancelotti thing has changed things massively. That development, I think that should speed things along, because for me, that's what this club needs. 18, even if it's 18 months, really, somebody like that, defensive-minded Italian with the respect, who can go into that dressing room and turn around to Aubameyang and Ozil and say, okay, you've won this, that, and the other, but look what I've won. So sit down, shut up, and let me tell you how to defend. Let me tell you how to set a team up. Because it's okay to say we want a lad to come in with some energy and bits and pieces like that, which of course we do. But at the minute, while we've got these overpaid players of a certain age who are probably not necessarily interested in learning a new style or changing their ways, 18 months from now, Arsenal Football Club will look very, very different when some of these big earning players are off the wage bill. So maybe it's Ancelotti for 18 months to get this regeneration cycle complete, and then we line up somebody a lot younger to take this youth forward. But I would be busting the bank for Ancelotti now. If he doesn't want to come, then we stick with Freddie till the summer and we get somebody in who's going to take on the project.
Yeah, great. Well said, mate. I don't think I disagree with that. Scunny, what do you think, Ancelotti, or would you rather hang on and wait for someone else?
If we don't get someone in the next couple of weeks, I think it'll be Freddie's till the end of the season.
Okay.
We need, if we're going to get a manager in, it needs to be in the next couple of weeks before January, so they can start maybe bringing in their own players and maybe selling off the players who they don't want. So that's going to be one. But it's I wish I could tell you. I wish I had some sort of crystal ball or something to say who our next manager is. But at the moment, the favourites to take over at the minute is one of them's Arteta, which I'm not overly keen on, if I'm being honest. I know he's Pep's mate, and he's done a lot, but I don't see what he can offer as a head coach.
I think it'd be a mistake to get Arteta.
I'm glad someone agrees with me.
I don't think all you've got going for him, really, that he's an ex-player. He's been at City for a few years, learning obviously under Pep. I don't think he's ready for that sort of job, because you just had him. I mean, it's like United syndrome. Look at United. Ferguson was there for 22 years. After that, you've had some good quality managers like Louis van Gaal. Was it Louis van Gaal went into one of the dressing rooms, dropped his pants, and it's like coming that story. Well, look what I've won, and said who's got bigger balls than me, or whatever it was. But Louis van Gaal, Barcelona, ex-Barcelona manager, Champions League winner, he couldn't do it at United. Jose, look what he's won. He couldn't do it at United after Ferguson because they're in a mess. Arsenal are in a mess. All these years after Wenger, you've had Unai Emery, who'd won the Europa League, was it 3 times on the bounce? So he's got good credentials, you'd think, and he couldn't do it after Wenger. So I don't think Arteta can do it. I think Arsenal is too big a club that's in too big a mess for him, and I don't think. I would question why he'd do it, because you haven't got a defence, and I could see 12 games down the line, Arteta having won 2 games, getting the boot, and that would really set him back. I don't think it's the right job for him now.
Who do you think is the right man for Arsenal from your point of view, though, Ray, from a City fan's view?
It's really tough. I mean, I look at some of the names mentioned. Arteta, I'd say no. Vieira, I think he's got more authority. There'd be more players scared of Vieira. I think Vieira would have that, would be able to carry himself as a leader, because that's what he was for you guys. He's got that authority and that respect. World Cup winner, everything. Allegri, I'm not sure, because someone's going to make fun of his language skills straight away. Okay, and I don't think he wants that. Pochettino, I don't think Pochettino's a bad shout. I honestly don't. I know some Arsenal fans don't want him because of the link with Spurs, but you've done it with Sol Campbell.
He's not won anything. If we want a manager to come into the club who's going to take us to another level or whatnot, what did he do with Spurs?
But what I'll say, You got to look at the situation now. Liverpool are so far ahead. It's going to be very hard for anybody to win anything while Liverpool are there. And City are still up there. I think it's very hard for anybody else to compete right now, unless, especially in the league, because you're going to need 100 points to win this league right now. And Arsenal aren't going to do that. Personally, I think what you need is a very good stopgap to stop the rot, because you guys are sliding down the table. You guys are going to be struggling to get Europa League. And one of the only reasons I think Kroenke is spending money in recent times, you've got Lacazette, Aubameyang and Pepe, is because of your slide. You're out of the Champions League, for 3 or 4 years now? So you're not getting the Champions League money. That's hit him in the pocket. If you don't get Europa League money, that's going to hit you in the pocket, 30, 40 million quid a year. And that's a lot to take. So now they're actually starting to gamble. And I think Pochettino would stabilise the club and inch it forward like he did with Spurs. He won now in 5 years at Spurs. But you can't argue that Spurs now are miles better than they were 5 years ago. And he's got 3 years in the Champions League back to back. And, you're not, as I said, you're not in a position to win the league. You're not in the position to win even the FA Cup. Okay? And I think you should...
Under Harry Redknapp, probably beating this Spurs side now.
Yeah.
Luka Modric and Gareth.
Well, this is what I was going to go on as well. And obviously people saying that Pochettino, he's not won anything at Spurs, but you could argue the fact that Arteta he's only won as an assistant manager. He's won nothing as a head coach. So how can you prefer Arteta to over Pochettino, where Pochettino he's got more experience than like we were just saying a minute ago about him is back to back in the Champions League with Spurs. And if you need that income, you need that boost of income to do it. Yeah. And we need someone to settle this squad. We need someone to put a level and say, right, this is where we need to be, and we need to get to that level. And I just can't see a brand new manager into head coach, a brand new person coming into head coach and doing anything like that. Yeah. And we were saying about Vieira, like I said again about Vieira, he's not doing great in League One, and it's a one club league, and he's not doing great. Yes, he can command the respect. Yes, he can command a lot by being an Arsenal legend. But I just don't think this team that we have at the minute are even going to give him that. And we need someone who's going to go in there and break some balls, basically.
Yeah. The thing is, for you guys, if you don't get Champions League this season, which is debatable, and if you don't even get Europa League, you're going to start losing your better players. I can't see Aubameyang sticking around, and I can't see even Lacazette, because they know they can easily go somewhere else and play in the Champions League. So you got to get that stability. You got to get that income as well. And you got to offer players the prospects of European football, even the Europa League. If you're offering them nothing, if you're offering them domestic football, where Liverpool are going to get maybe 100, 102 points this season, City got 100 last season, or 98 the season before 100. That's the benchmark. And Arsenal will be looking to this season. Arsenal will be looking to get 70 points.
Mate, I'm going for 40. I want 40 points so far, just so we're safe from relegation. Boys, we've massively overrun, but I do want to say a huge thank you for you all for coming on. Mark, always a pleasure, mate. Thanks for you coming on to the Same Old Arsenal. How can people follow you, mate, on Twitter? Is that your Twitter handle there?
Yeah, it should be Shade Chaser, and that's not because I like disrespecting people, by the way. It's just because, if you can see, I'm very pasty, so I like to stay in the shade.
Fair enough, mate. Thanks for coming on. Go and follow Mark on Twitter. Scunny, happy birthday again, mate, and always a pleasure.
Thanks very much, guys.
Mate. Likewise, go and follow Scunny Mike at Mike Scunny on Twitter. You'll also see him on Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast as well, which I believe is most Tuesdays and Wednesday evenings. Ray, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. How can people follow you on social media, buddy?
Social media, I'm on Twitter. It's mancity_Ray. Nice and easy.
Okay, it's all City fans watching this, which we will get a few, I am sure. Please go and follow Ray. Ray does quite a lot of stuff for Man City TV, Fan TV. As I said,
TV. I've got to say it's City Fan TV. There is a Man City Fan TV, which I used to work for. But all right, City Fan TV. We don't want to be confused with them.
There we go. Sorry, mate. I want to make sure we get it right. Absolutely. Guys, absolute pleasure. You will see us on the Same Old Arsenal on Monday evening. We really hope that we have had a good result by then tomorrow, but I'm still not very confident. But thank you all, boys, for coming on, and we shall see you all soon, guys. And thanks to everyone who's been watching in the chat room. We'll see you soon, guys. Take care.
Guys.
Cheers.